Welcome to the toughest part of the NFL offseason. I know OTAs just got started, and I am going to have videos about that, so please make sure you go check those out after this video. But I do believe that this is the toughest part of the year because the NFL draft is over, training camp isn't here yet, there's no videos even at OTAs of these guys actually on the field, competing against each other, playing football. So before we get to training camp, I want to break down this Cowboys roster. That way you guys are as informed as possible on this team heading into the 2025 season. That includes for training camp, preseason, regular season, all of it. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting cornerback room. Let's get into it. I planned on starting this series out talking about the quarterback room, but you know what? That's not nearly as interesting right now as some other spots on this team, so we're going to save that one for later. For now, let's start with a bigger question mark, and that is the cornerback room, because there's a ton of drama surrounding Trevon Diggs and his health. Jerry Jones came out and said that he didn't attack his rehab like he should have, and it resulted in him having another season-ending injury. Then you have the drama around DaRon Bland's contract situation. Dallas traded for Caelen Carson from the Bills, a first-rounder that didn't work out. Dallas selected Shavon Revel in the third round. He's working back from an ACL injury. Caelen Carson, it did not play well as a fifth-rounder. Dallas kind of forced him to start with their lack of moves in free agency. He didn't play well, ended up having injuries and being held out for a couple of months. Then you have Josh Butler, also working back from his knee injury. And now that I've went down that list of players, that room is decimated. Like, so bad. I mean, to put it into perspective, if you just take the healthy guys that out of that group that I just mentioned, like for sure, probably going to be healthy for week one. Hypothetically speaking, it would be DaRon Bland, Caelen Carson, and then Israel Mukuamu. That would be the starting corners for Dallas in week one. And what's crazy is if you take all of their starts, their regular season starts for the Dallas Cowboys in their career, those three guys would have a combined 34 regular season starts. DaRon Bland accounts for 30 of those. Israel Mukuamu has 4 as a Cowboy, and then Caelen Carson obviously has 0 starts as a Cowboy. That's terrifying. But the interesting part and why I wanted to start out with the corners is because we don't know who's going to get to start in week one because there are so many questions about this room. You have DaRon Bland, who played and started in 8 games last year after dealing with his foot injury. He's going into a contract year as a 5th-round pick, so no 5th-year option. You have Trevon Diggs, got paid after the 2022 season. Then in 2023, tore his ACL in practice between weeks 2 and 3. Then in 2024, he had another season-ending injury to his knee, and he appeared in just 11 of 17 games. And now, we don't know when he'll be back. Who knows? He might start the year on PUP. He might be back to play by week 3. We might not even get to see him play this year. We seriously have zero idea what's going on with that. Cowboys have been watertight about Diggs and his recovery. Why? No idea. Maybe they want to trade him or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I haven't heard that. So with Bland going into a contract year, Diggs, obviously who knows what's going on with that. It makes sense that the Cowboys selected Shavon Revel in the 3rd round. But there's a problem with relying on your 3rd round pick. Just, a minor hiccup in relying on him right now. He's hurt too. It just never ends. But there is good news. Revel was a 1st-round talent to a lot of people. I had an early 2nd-round grade on him, but without the ACL injury, he probably goes in that late day 1, early day 2 range. More good news about Revel is he seems to be on track or even ahead of schedule when it comes to getting ready for the season. So I do think we're going to get to see a little bit of him at training camp. Obviously not early on, but I do think we'll get to see him out there on the field for training camp, hopefully not starting the regular season on PUP. That would require him to miss 6 weeks. It seems like he's definitely ahead of Diggs. We've heard that. But if Revel can get out there on the field and potentially be ready to go week 1, that's really the top 3 guys on this team. If everyone was completely healthy, it would be Diggs, Revel, and Bland in the slot. But too bad the NFL is not unicorns and rainbows, so we're going to have to pivot a little bit. Have to rely on some guys that you maybe wouldn't rely on if you had all 3 of those guys healthy. And that brings us to Israel Mukuamu, a name that has been around on the Cowboys for what feels like a decade at this point. I know it hasn't been a decade, but it certainly feels like it. In that stretch, he has 4 career starts. He didn't hardly play any under Dan Quinn. He really didn't get on the field with Mike Zimmer as the defensive coordinator. He's just mainly been a special teamer. He's appeared in 50 games and started just 4 on defense. The only times we really got to see him play was when Dallas was in a pinch with injuries. But a guy that the Cowboys have not had to rely on. They signed to a 1-year deal this offseason in free agency. They might have to rely on this guy. He might end up being the slot corner when the season rolls around. And I don't think I'm actually that mad at that. I'm an Izzy believer. He played in the 2022 playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because Dallas had 0 corners, kind of like right now because of injuries. And I thought he actually played really well. And then after he played really well, we never saw him play again. He just never played. I don't know. Maybe it was because they couldn't find a way to get him on the field. Maybe it was because of Jordan Lewis, but with Lewis gone now, that potentially opens the door for Izzy to get to play. Then, you have Matt Eberflus coming in too as the DC. Maybe that gives him more opportunities, but we just didn't get to see the guy on the field. Really quick, guys, we passed 40,000 subs so fast, and we're on our way to 50K. In the past 28 days, just 31% of you that watched the channel were subscribed. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. It tells me and the YouTube algorithm that you've been enjoying the content. Thank you guys all in advance. Now, let's get back to the video. So Dallas decided to bring Izzy back. I think the front office brought him back for a reason. I think they brought him back for more than just, special teams work. So I do expect him to get an opportunity to compete when training camp rolls around. That's kind of the top names that we need to be talking about. And then we can look at names like Kaiir Elam, Caelen Carson, Josh Butler, Keemon Hall. And I'm going to try to make this quick so we can talk about what I think could and likely will happen with this room early on and then into the future. Kaiir Elam was traded to Dallas for a late round pick swap from the Bills. A former first rounder, hasn't really found his footing so far in the league. However, we know how much Will McClay and Jerry Jones and company love their first round picks that were not good. They love it because first round talent, they got him for cheap. I think he's going to be more so a depth piece. I think that would be much more suitable for him. And although the talent, the athleticism, it's there to be more than that, to be a serious contributor, I just don't know how much I trust that he's going to be a difference maker on this team, even with all of the injuries. I really hope that I get surprised and he ends up being a really good player for Dallas, and you don't really have to worry about all of the stuff going on with the corners. You have Kaiir Elam, you have DaRon Bland. Then you have Caelen Carson, who, being nice about it, did not play well at all last year. A 5th round pick, he was thrown into the fire immediately. Really a sink or swim year for a guy taken in the 5th round. Obviously, you guys watched the games the first 3 weeks of the season. It didn't work. The big question is his confidence ruined? Can he improve from there, or is he just going to be one of those guys that's in his head, feels like he can't do it because his rookie season was just, that level of bad? But I do have hope that he can improve, that he'll also be a nice depth piece, a competitor in camp, maybe make a push to be that 4th corner, that if something were to happen, he goes on the field. But I do think we need to kind of temper our expectations a little bit with that one, even though we loved him so much coming out of Wake Forest. Then you have Josh Butler, who played in quite a few games for Dallas last year. If you guys don't know his story, please go look up Josh Butler's story. incredible, really. At 28 years old, he finally got his chance in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, and he played exceptionally well. This guy balled out. And then, of course, the 2024 Dallas Cowboys curse struck, and he tore his ACL on Thanksgiving. Who knows really what happens from here? I think with how he played, given his opportunities, he would be a great depth piece as well. Solid, and if you're in a pinch, guys are getting hurt, not being able to be on the field. Butler seems like a competitor. He stepped up when he was needed last year. I like him a lot as a player and a person. Hopefully he can come back from that ACL injury. And then finally, to get to the end of this cornerback room, you have Caelen Hall, maybe a name you're a little less familiar with. He bounced around the league. He's bounced around the league quite a bit over his career. He's been signed by the Chargers, the Vikings, the Saints, the Cowboys in 2020, and then went to the 49ers, and he's back in Dallas, and he's been everywhere, to say the least. I thought he kind of earned himself a spot last year on the roster with his preseason performance. He had an interception. I'm not sure if it was a pick six. He was sticky in coverage, showed up at Oxnard, showed up in the preseason. They just didn't find a way to get him on the roster. But with how many numbers they have in that room, how many bodies they have at corner, even if it's not all super top tier talent, not really sure how he fits in, but he did feel like a name worth mentioning and name to watch for at training camp. So with all of the guys in the cornerback room, what happens from here? Bland is obviously cornerback one until further notice, with or without Trevon Diggs. How much their game check is aside, Bland is number one. He's going to be on the outside. Then, obviously, like I said, Trevon Diggs is out. I'm just taking him completely out of the equation. I'm not factoring him in right now. It'd really just be foolish to have a plan. It could be week 4, it could be 2026, and he'll be off the roster. Like, we have no idea. The question becomes out of Shavon Revel, Caelen Carson, Kaiir Elam, Israel Mukuamu, Andrew Booth, who I didn't mention earlier. You guys know why. And Caelen Hall. And I'm also going to leave Josh Butler out of this as well. Now, maybe I'm going against my own rules a little bit here, but it's because we have a little bit more information. For me, because of the reporting and the positive news that we've seen, I am going to rely on Revel in this little exercise, this overview of the cornerback room. I think there's a chance that he comes back in late July, early August. He's going to have to probably compete with guys like Kaiir Elam and Caelen Carson. But by that point, if neither one of them have really showed up and impressed, I think there's a really good chance that Revel gets out on the field, Dallas likes what they see, and that knee looks good, and he starts opposite of Bland. That's my hope. That's what I hope happens. There's honestly a chance that does happen, knowing what we know about Elam and Carson. For now, Revel is CB2 for me. Please be right. Then the question becomes, who's the nickel corner? And this is an interesting one because we know Eberflus likes his slot corners to actually help in run support, be able to blitz off the edge, win with those certain blitz packages that he likes to use. It's kind of why I thought that they would re-sign Jourdan Lewis. That's literally his play style described perfectly. So without him on the team, I think there's two names that kind of make sense. Izzy, obviously number one. I talked about him earlier in the video, but what are the chances that maybe it's Marquise Bell? Not a name that we've talked about, listed as a safety, but Bell can tackle, he can blitz, he's pretty good in coverage, he's got a good feel in zone coverage. He played linebacker, we know, a very undersized linebacker. Maybe you can bring him down. He can play in the box, whatever you need him to do. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to who does Eberflus trust the most, right? Because he's going to ask that guy to do a lot of things. Like I said, he's going to have to be able to cover, help and run support, blitz, all of it. And that position battle might be one of the most important as we get into camp. Because of all the question marks, because of what Eberflus likes to do on defense, I think there's a real chance that with Mukuamu, who is a safety / cornerback, and with Marquise Bell, that'll be the competition until further notice. In a perfect world with the cornerbacks, it's Diggs, Revel, Bland in the slot, but it's gonna have to get changed around. It's gonna get dicey in training camp because it's really, if Dallas goes into the year and you don't feel good about the corners and you're playing the Eagles, you're playing A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then Malik Neighbors in week 2, and They got to get this down. It's so important. It's so important for the future. What do you do with Diggs' 2026 contract? Do you re-sign DaRon Bland? Because you're not going to have Diggs. You're not going to have Bland if you don't re-sign him. You have Revel, who's a third-round pick, but had the ACL. You don't really know what he's going to look like. You can project all you want, but that'll get you fired. They really got to figure this out. I want to hear what you guys think. I love seeing your guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, so head down there and let me know. And I wanted to say thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content, Cowboys content just like this. And if my ADD will allow it, I do plan on breaking down each position group. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you are subscribed. Thank you guys. The road to 50K starts now. I love you all. Bye.